Hi, I'm Jo.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is the new Start Inspiring podcast.
If you're someone who looks after an organisation and really cares about your people, productivity and performance, this podcast is for you.
You're going to get advice and valuable insight.
We're going to bring you tools and information that you can apply directly to your business.
So if you really value your people,
listen to the Start Inspiring podcast.
Your future self is going to thank you for it. Us two, we can never stop talking.
Absolutely.
We love this time together.
We do. It does feel really special, actually, to have time to talk about something meaningful.
Yeah.
To remind ourselves why we're here. Yeah. And to give useful content to the community. Yeah. Like, that's what we're all about.
Oh, love that. I love the way you summarised that. I was talking to somebody last week and I'd been delivering a session with a client. And they came up afterwards and kind of said, oh my gosh, you're like so in your space, you know, you could really see you come to life. And I was saying to them, I'm just really lucky to get to do something I really love.
Yeah.
And to be good at and love something is just such a great gift.
Yeah.
And that's energising and motivating and exciting, and knowing I leave an organisation having made a difference. That's what it's all about for me.
So powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what a lovely segue into what we're talking about. I mean,
it wasn't even planned.
So yeah, today's episode's about energy and really how we unlock maximum energy. And actually, you and I are both in this really privileged position, aren't we? Where we have found the thing that makes us most excited, the thing that gives us joy, the thing that kind of energizes us.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find yourself in that place, you have an awful lot to give others.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about energy today.
Yeah, we are.
How it works, how to get it, how to notice when you haven't got it, and how that can really, truly unlock the potential of individuals, but also the impact, the positive impact that has on an organisational level.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Nice.
Where should we start?
Well, you're first. Oh, no, I'm first. So where should we start? So what do we mean by energy? So we know there was a brilliant piece of work done by Tony Schwartz and his team, gentlemen, that talked about the way we're working isn't working.
Yeah.
And in the book, they talk about time is finite, people. You know, we only have so much of it, but energy is infinite. And actually, you can boost your energy. You can do stuff to really help you maximise how you use that finite time. And he and the team really identified 4 key components of energy.
Yeah. And it's so interesting when you start to kind of unpack them a little bit, isn't it? Because we'll all kind of go, oh yeah, totally understand that one. So physical tends to be the one. I think when we do this with clients, physical tends to be quite a common, easy area where people start and they think, oh yeah, am I getting enough exercise? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I dealing with my nutrition well? All of that type of thing, very obvious kind of physical elements. Emotional is the second element. So really about how we're feeling, using our kind of emotional intelligence, tuning into how other people are feeling, and really creating that kind of very positive, I guess, mindset. Spiritual, I think this is where groups can often go, oh, you know, where are we going with this one? But really in this context, it's about our values, our purpose, making a difference, exactly as we were just reflecting on just now. And those things in our life and work that deeply resonate with us. And then mental. So, you know, are we working in flow? How's our focused work? Are we concentrating well? Are we finding that we're able to be creative but also get a lot done? So those kind of 4 areas. And I suppose as we explore those a bit more, we start to unpack actually which ones am I doing well at? How would I kind of rate or reflect on, you know, which ones of those 4 could I be doing a bit better, have a better balance with? And what do I need to do a bit more of or less of in each of those to give me a better balance?
Absolutely. And when we do this work with organisations, it is really interesting to talk about all 4 elements, and those being, you know, needed and needing to be cared for in order to get maximum energy. Because I think you're right. I think we tend to go, well, am I getting enough sleep?
Yeah.
Am I eating well? You know, that is where most of us start. But actually to stop and have a more meaningful, deeper kind of reflection on your way of spending your life, the habits that you've got. You know, are you practicing gratitude? Are you doing things for yourself? I think we get ever so busy. Like, are you putting your own oxygen mask on first so that you can be the best version of yourself for others? And certainly, you know, when I'm not feeling at my best, to try and look across the four and say, okay, where have I got a deficit? And then actually not, I mean, I think we live in a world where this kind of continuous improvement piece can be a little bit frightening. It can be like, oh, I've got to be my best all the time. I think first is be kind to yourself. But the second one is, you know, do that reflective work and understand what you need. And you know, rather than going hell for leather, you know, what's the 1% improvement I can make today that's going to make me slightly better tomorrow and slightly better the next day? And you know, I'm a bit of a reader, we both are. So when I talk about that 1%, you know, that probably comes from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a brilliant book for those of you that would like to have better habits. Brilliant book. And he talks about, if I'm just 1% better every day, after 12 months, I'll be 37.78 times better.
It's amazing, isn't it? A tiny, tiny change just grows and gets bigger cumulatively over time. And that's just like taking a baby step, really, isn't it?
And if you think like on an organisational level, so, you know, if every individual in your business was 37.78 times better, having been just 1% better a day.
Wow.
Just 1% better every day. What can you learn today that makes you better than yesterday? You're going to be 37.78 times.
Who'd say no to that? No organisation would they?
I don't think so.
No, me either. So, what do we need to look out for, do you think?
I think it's looking for triggers and understanding, like knowing yourself well enough to know, well, when am I at my best? That's fine. But when am I not at my best? And what's going on here for me? Why don't I feel great? And then if you look at those kind of 4 areas, you know, the physical one we've talked about a bit, but actually, are my eating habits as good as they could be? I've been playing with alcohol a bit recently, as in not, you know, really noticing that before a leadership event, you know, I'd be at a hotel on my own the night before, no kids. And the idea of having, you know, a bath and a glass of wine, on one hand, I thought was really lovely and restorative, but actually I've started to eliminate alcohol of a week. My brain is on fire the next day for my clients. So now I'm like, oh, I owe my clients not to have a glass of wine before I do their leadership development program the next day, or before I run a culture workshop, because my cognitive capability is just so much better. So kind of just doing those little kind of experiments with yourself almost. So, you know, that's your physical stuff. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Actually, we know that is most important. Then on emotional level, actually, who am I spending my time with? Is it the people that lift me up, or am I feeling kind of exhausted, or you know, do some of the relationships I'm in at the moment feel a bit burdenous?
Drain you rather than energize you.
Absolutely. So get rid of the draining relationships, or just spend less time and make sure that you've kind of got balance. And it's like everything, isn't it? Everything in balance, my grandma used to say.
So true. So true.
So that's the kind of emotional piece. The spiritual piece, I think we've experienced, is game changing. You know, are you living your values on a daily basis? If you're not, if something's challenging you to live outside your values, that's quite draining on an energy. So kind of taking a look at that and going, well, what are my personal values? What do I hold most important to me? And how can I live my life more in line with them? Have I got a purpose? What do I get up out of bed for in the morning? And again, I think individually and organisationally, that's so possible to really think about it at an organisational level. So without giving too much away, a number of the organisations I've worked with, you know, perhaps do something relatively boring in terms of the product they make, but actually when you start to get to the heart of what problem are you solving for customers, why is that important to them, what difference does your product make in the world? Some of the most boring products, if you look at my LinkedIn, you can see where I've worked before. Some of them can be really turned into a powerful, meaningful reason to come to work.
Yeah.
And that can be really energizing.
Yeah, that totally is. And
yeah.
that creating that shift, I know it's a bit like reframing, isn't it? Because when you start asking those questions in that way, it completely changes the energy behind, you know, the product or the service that you offer. I've worked for organisations before where you've got sort of different divisions within organisations, some perceived as more professional or boring, and others potentially more exciting and creative.
Yes.
But actually there's a purpose behind all of it, right?
Every single one. You know, just to run through a couple, when I worked for a makeup and cosmetics manufacturer, we were making men and women feel more confident, really. We were, you know, and we knew that that was that important. The construction company I worked for, we were building homes, we were building hospitals where, you know, those moments that really matter for people, we were part of. So you can absolutely, that's why we talk so much about what's your organisational purpose and how do you connect people's hearts as well as their minds to it.
So if you're enjoying this episode, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a like or share our podcast with others. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the episode.
And then the final one is the mental piece. And I think that's not only, we talk about learning and stimulating your own cognitive capability, but that's really designing the way we work in a way that creates flow.
Yeah.
So we intentionally need to do this in organisations. We overcommit and we stress ourselves out, and invariably we underdeliver.
Yeah.
This is about choosing the most important work, really focusing on it, and then creating an environment where we can do our best thinking. We can be creative on the most important things. And I actually think we have agency in most organisations as individuals to be able to plan our way of working, to give us that kind of mental cognitive engagement, if you like.
Yeah. Well, that unlocks so much more for customers and for us as individuals, but the impact for the organisation is incredible. You think about you sort of still stuck on what you said earlier about imagine an organisation that gets 37% more out of tiny change. The potential of impact around greater productivity, greater performance, so much opportunity there.
Absolutely. And I mean I'm not into physics particularly, but if you think about energy, vibrations, energy, and kind of what an organization can do to almost wind its organization up or give it the energy it needs to then just let it go and really unleash that, literally limitless potential. I just, we should pay it more attention, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we can definitely help organisations unlock that, right?
Yeah. What's your experience? I was going to say, what's your experience of doing it? What have you seen happen?
Yeah, we've done some work with a few different teams, and I think at the initial level you see that kind of individual light bulb moments, don't you, about, oh wow, I need to pay some attention here or here. One of the things I really love is you kind of get colleagues to do something on an individual level, and then you build it out and they start working with a partner or with a small team, sharing ideas around, well, I'm going to bring you together in a group that also need to think about how I can help my spiritual part. And as a group, then you start to say, have you thought of this? Because I've tried this. Or I know somebody that's done Reiki, for example. Could that be something? And you actually then start to get an ideas discussion happening. And you hear the energy in the room even shift. And then when they take that back, they start to work with in small groups, and you can start to see improvement. But also, not only does that improve their own experience, but actually start to have that same conversation with the people that work for them or with them. And then it goes again, right? More ideas are generated, more small changes are made. And then when you touch back in with those teams 6 months later on, they're re-energized, happier, more engaged, celebrating some really great results. So on an organisational level, it then becomes something really quite significant,
Yeah.
as well as being really good for the individual
Yeah.
and their resilience and their motivation and their well-being.
Absolutely.
Because that's so fundamental to organisational success, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because organisations are about people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking about one of the organisations we worked with where we helped their whole HR team, actually. So they had a really large HR team. You'll know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
And actually, I've only just spoken to one of them this week. So we're 6 months, maybe even 9 months down the road, because we pulled together a succession of events.
Yeah.
They have embedded those behaviour changes. So it hasn't been this kind of one-off. You know, one of these conferences, we're all energised. Yeah, let's go for this. Actually, they have made small habitual changes. And because they've done it as a team, they've kind of been each other's accountability buddies and have been able to kind of, you know, they're now so aware of when someone isn't feeling their most energised. And because the conversations have taken place across that whole team, they're able to acknowledge it on behalf of each other, maybe call it out and hold them accountable as well, right? And say, look, you know, we committed to being our best versions of ourselves. I care about that. I care about you. We collectively,
how can I help you? Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, and it's really nice to hear that they've changed that. And I think for me, that our work changes people in here. And then the impact is felt out there.
Yeah.
Is lovely.
Work on ourselves, work on the inside first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so important. So I suppose then thinking about, you know, what can people do? We've talked about James Clear's book, So Atomic Habits.
Big fan.
Such a big fan of his work. We've talked about Tony Schwartz.
Yes.
So that's, you know, you can look him up on Google, get a sense of what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
You can get in touch.
Yeah. We'll provide an energy audit, actually, what we can do in the notes. We've got an energy audit for you to just have a look at, of those 4 areas. How are you doing? How are you? Are you healthy in that area? And in which case, just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Or is there a deficit? And therefore, what ideas there might be for you?
What a gift. That's such a gift.
Yeah.
And I think then there's some, just asking yourself some simple questions, right? About, you know, what does this tell me about where I'm at? What should I be doing more or less of? So some of that might be quite obvious. If I'm going to make some change, what do I think might get in the way? So there's always blockers. I don't have enough time. I don't have this. I don't have that. Actually, let's strip that right back. What is really going to get in my way? And what's the first step I can take?
Yeah.
And take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only one I would add to that is, what's in it for me? Like, why would I want to do this? So that's compelling enough.
Yeah.
That when I've got to get out of bed and into my trainers at 6:30 in the morning, that I'm doing it for a real purposeful reason. You know, mine would be, I want to be able to run around with my grandchildren when they come, and my kids are hopefully nowhere near having them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do not want to be infirm or unable to move enough in my later years. I've got a gap year planned, as you know.
Yeah.
So that work now, that kind of 1%, and I am not a sporty individual, but that 1% of keeping myself moving is because I want to be that, not just today, but tomorrow as well for them. I don't want to be the grandparent who has to sit on a bench because I can't chase the ball with the little. That's just compelling enough for me to go keep moving. Then I'll use it or lose it.
I mean, I've had exactly those thoughts about, you know, the future, and, you know, for people that know me, you know that I've lost a lot of weight over the last sort of 6 or 7 years, and I guess I've also, as we both have, taken those balancing steps around work, being able to unlock work that I love and I know that I love doing, but also have time, space and freedom to do the adventure activities I get involved in.
Absolutely. I think I'm slightly sadder than you. I think my hobby is my work. But I mean that in a kind of, I love learning about people.
Yeah.
So my books on holiday, I have got some fiction books I've recently been reading, but my books on holiday will be about psychology or you know, how to help organisations, individuals tick. And just because I'm fascinating. So then it doesn't feel like work.
No.
It feels quite enjoyable.
Well, that's because we're passionate about it, right? So
Exactly.
it doesn't. And I know that's what you read on holiday, because I get little synopses
I know.
during
Sorry
our
about
holiday.
Oh God, she's read another book.
Turn off notifications.
Thanks so much to everyone for joining us.
Anything that we've talked about today, you'll be able to find online. So whether that's James Clear's Atomic Habits book, links to Tony Schwartz's website, links to our own webinar that we conducted earlier on this year, and of course, get in touch if you'd like to hear more.
Thanks so much for listening to the Start Inspiring podcast. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jo, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.